What is up everyone? Today, I bring you a 2019 Russian science fiction action thriller film named The Blackout. Hope you all enjoy the video, let's get right into it. The Russian army suddenly received a terrifying mission, thousands of troops were mobilized, and veterans who had retired for many years were also summoned. Surveillance radar saw a large number of strange creatures suddenly appearing in the dark forest, quickly approaching them at a speed of 40 meters per second. Soldiers are fully prepared. If facing a strong enemy, they will use a minigun, and the automatic firing mode will also be immediately turned on. However, when all the soldiers were deployed, the lieutenant colonel wearing glasses scanned the forest without a single ghost. But the soldier next to him believed there was something scary because the alarm wouldn't suddenly go off. The soldiers lay alert on the defensive line, although each gun's infrared gun was aimed at the opposite forest. At this moment, the command post discovered that 3 kilometers away the enemy was continuously approaching. Their size was much larger than that of humans, and they also carried super strong electronic radiation. What the hell is that anyway? However, as soon as he finished speaking, the lights in the affected base turned off. Everyone was worried and didn't know what to do. Only the yellow dog, not afraid of death, bravely rushed into the forest to find news. The colonel quickly shot flares into the sky, but the light dissipated and there was still not a single strand of hair that actually showed a ghost. At this time, the command center suddenly announced that the target was approaching them and rushed towards them. 500 meters of preparation. The frightened colonel quickly fired flares, 300 meters. Immediately afterwards, the dog's pitiful cry rang out from the forest less than 150 meters from the target. Before, there was still no movement detected, but the next second. Open fire. In an instant, countless machine guns and artillery opened up, automatic Gatling guns aimed to tear the enemy to pieces. However, facing the darkness ahead, humans still could not resist. The strongest defense line was penetrated by monsters. The battle lasted all night. A surviving soldier woke up to find himself pinned by a giant creature. When people saw that he was still alive, they immediately mobilized a crane to rescue him, but when the monster was hung up, it was clearly seen that it was a giant bear. After a night of fierce fighting, even though the soldiers protected the base, they also had to pay a heavy price. From a distance, you can see countless bear corpses lying outside the base's defense line, forming a high wall. What happened to cause these bears to attack this outpost? Not long ago, a passenger plane to Paris suddenly lost power, everyone lost consciousness, and the plane plummeted from a height of 10,000 meters. Immediately after that, the city's lights went out for a moment. The next second the entire Earth's electrical system collapsed and fell into darkness, leaving only a small area. This place was Moscow. However, in the quiet night, the machine suddenly sounded the alarm bell, but no one knew what happened. Will and Anna have just finished campaigning and watching the news. The outside world loses power. Moscow loses contact with the rest of the world. All communication equipment in the world stopped. People were extremely panicked. The army immediately sent a reconnaissance team to the power cut area to perform a reconnaissance mission. Soon the group arrived at a nearby town, but there were no ghosts here. When the investigation team arrived at the supermarket, one member pasted a plaster on the wall. The next second, a bright light suddenly lit up in the hall. In sight were corpses lying around. But the strange thing is that none of the bodies showed signs of being attacked. They were originally going to the supermarket to have a meal with their family, but they all died suddenly. It seems that this power outage happened suddenly. Everyone was caught off guard and died at the same time. But at this moment, a soldier was suddenly attacked while searching. Upon hearing this, his teammates immediately rushed to support. The attacker grabbed the soldier's weapon and jumped directly from the 8th floor. This is truly not something humans can do. The group members immediately broke the glass and rushed to attack frantically. However, the thick bullets clearly hit him, but he remained unharmed, ignoring the gun and quickly running away from the battlefield. The colonel sensed something lurking in the darkness and fiercely ordered all members of the team to immediately evacuate and return to base. At the same time, the news specifically reported that public morale was beginning to become unstable, and countless people took to the streets to march to welcome the end of the world. But now Moscow has become the only safe place for humanity. 7.5 billion people in the dark area where the electricity was cut immediately received bentos. The army has established a blockade on the edge of Moscow. This is the last outpost of humanity. All remaining soldiers have gathered here. The female officer told everyone that the incident was much more serious than they imagined. Scientists had found the cause of death, but the strange thing was that all the civilians died from the nerve agent they secreted. Unfortunately, 5 reconnaissance teams with tens of thousands of people and 80 tanks, deployed deep into the dark area, suddenly disappeared. To find out the cause of the loss of contact, the female officer had to reorganize the special force into the dark area. No one flinched before this unprecedented type of war. The army quickly departed and divided into several teams to enter the area. And the colonel didn't have time to find out the purpose of the bear deliberately attacking the outpost. The female officer used Sasa, a person with superpowers. Although he is not a superhero, cannot grab objects from the air or use his mind to bend wands, his consciousness can receive mysterious data that humans cannot decode. Maybe this will help the army. But right at that moment, Sasa's brain was invaded. A person claiming to be a messenger of God came to deliver the message. All terrible things are controlled by God. The first wave of attacks will destroy all electronic devices. The second wave of attacks will trigger the self-destruction of all creatures. The third will control 160 million puppets in the dark area to attack survivors in the safe zone. Before the third wave begins, he needs to meet that person, help him find the god controlling the puppet to prevent this from happening. The next day, a team sent to explore the dark area found the missing reconnaissance unit, but what they saw when they entered shocked them even more. The bridge was hit by a plane, the tank was destroyed and the turret was blown up. The city was originally home to 60 million people, but suddenly a mysterious force exploded into a giant fan-shaped gap overnight. At the same time, the third attack began. With revelations from television stations and explorers, people became more and more panicked. All 160 million people surviving in the dark area became unconscious puppets. They suddenly appeared with sticks in hand to launch a crazy attack on the army. To be honest, this is a new form of war. High-ranking officials in the safe zone receiving the news are confused and do not know what is going on. To deal with the crisis, the army decided to be proactive. First, send a small reconnaissance team deep into the dark area to find the enemy's location, then send more troops to suppress the riot. But the reconnaissance team went deep into the dark area. Everywhere in the interior there was only ruins and silence. The whole team investigated all day and still found nothing. But at night the situation was completely different. Many people with weapons walked slowly like walking zombies. With weapons in hand, they quickly attacked the squad. The reconnaissance team could only passively counterattack. But there were so many enemies, and they had heavy weapons in their hands, that even those who had gone through hundreds of battles were still trembling. Soon they suffered heavy losses and had to send a signal for help to the outpost. At the same time, teams in other regions were also surrounded by such puppets. This mysterious man slowly took off his gas mask, but unexpectedly, a face that was not human was revealed inside. When Sasa in front saw it, he was extremely scared. This bald man had no mouth and how could he eat? The female officer happened to arrive and saw the stranger, immediately pulled out her gun and called for help. There was an intruder here. Immediately afterwards, a number of special forces soldiers surrounded him. Pressure did not panic and emitted an arrogant aura. As soon as he closed his eyes, he directly directed the other soldiers to point their guns at the female officer. The female officer was very confused, but what happened next made her eyes widen in horror. She saw him transform into her. What she didn't know was that she had become pressure in the eyes of the soldiers. What the hell was all about? At this moment, AP slowly walked closer to her and spoke through his nose. Just simply showing off a bit of his strength, doing so was more effective than an explanation. Then he revealed a shocking secret that had been hidden for 200,000 years. There are millions of people like me coming. They all want to do one thing, which is to destroy all of you, but I am on the side of humanity. Type. You are not human. Who are you? In your language, I am the so-called God. I will answer all your questions, but we are running out of time. In the meeting room, AP told the female officer that he was an advanced creature from a distant galaxy. They did not age and all had superpowers. Their resources are exhausted. They need to colonize new planets. As early as 200,000 years ago, they liked the Earth and considered it their future home. Because the climate and environment of the Earth at that time were not suitable for survival, their giant spacecraft took 200,000 years to arrive. So a smaller spacecraft was sent to transform the Earth first. There were two pioneer aliens on board. One was AP in front and the other was Ari. Their mission is to launch a genetic virus. This virus is humans. Humans are the perfect product transformed by aliens using their own genes. You mean us? If not, do you think humans have really built pyramids and cities on the bottom of the sea? Therefore, humans and aliens have many similarities, but if they are stripped of their souls by aliens and cannot absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, they will suffer from old age, sickness, and death. But with the ability to mate and reproduce, the virus will spread faster. At the same time, humans inherited the advanced intelligence of aliens, thereby instinctively developing civilization on Earth, constantly improving the Earth. As a result, Earthlings successfully completed their mission several thousand years early, very suitable for aliens to live. Today, the time has come for aliens to reclaim the Earth. So before Pressure spacecraft arrived, Ari still began the destruction process according to the original plan, controlling all life on Earth through electromagnetic radiation. Because the moon has just risen, it blocks part of that radiation, retaining the last living zone on Earth. But everyone in the dark area has been controlled by Ari and has lost control, and soon the living area will be surrounded. The process of humans fighting back is the process of killing each other. The spaceship carrying millions of aliens will land on Earth tomorrow. If 10 alien war gods also land on Earth, the entire Earth will be completely dominated by aliens. Fortunately, AP has a conscience and wants to live peacefully with humanity, and decides to help everyone overcome this disaster. If you want to realize this idea, before the spacecraft arrives, you must find Ari's location. The female officer has no choice but to believe him in this situation, and now the one who can find Ari is Sasa, the one who has the ability to feel. AP put his hand on his forehead, and in an instant Sasa's awareness increased 100 times. Sasa soon sensed Ari's position, quickly drawing it on paper. As soon as he looked, he knew where he was. Ari on the tallest building also felt someone was watching him. At that time, the reconnaissance force in the dark area collapsed when facing an enemy many times stronger. Some remaining teams tried to hold on and used flares in the hope of receiving aid from the base. At this time, everyone at the base discovered reconnaissance teams in all directions sending out signals. The lieutenant colonel saw calls for aid coming from all directions, but he could do nothing. Good luck to the soldiers. Due to limited time, the army prepares to enter the dark area to kill Ari. But at this time, Sasa told AP that when he saw Ari, his position was revealed. To avoid unnecessary trouble, AP just let Sasa stay at the base. But the team had not gone far when suddenly countless missiles flew towards the outpost, and the base was fatally attacked. The last human base was razed, the soldiers at the base and Sasa became cannon fodder. The female officer in the reconnaissance team became the only people left on Earth. Seeing a soldier die tragically, she was extremely angry and immediately pointed the gun at AP. From the beginning, he knew that the people in the base would die. AP calmly said, as humanity's last hope, they must sacrifice. Only by creating the illusion that everyone was killed did Ari relax his guard. If we had kept Sasa with us, we would all be dead now, and human civilization would also be completely destroyed. Early the next morning, the reconnaissance team trapped in the dark area gathered. After a night of fighting, only the 4 main characters of the film remained. There was another guy about to receive a bento, everyone was out of bullets. Just when they were bewildered, the army promptly arrived, 3 groups of people gathered. Next they had to find the person to control the Ari puppet for the final decisive battle. On the way there, AP hypnotized others and spoke alone to John. It seemed that AP also had his own purpose. Not long after, they were stopped by the puppets as they were about to reach their destination. All the puppets were densely lined up in rows. Some people also set explosives to jump from high-rise buildings to carry out a suicide attack. A fierce battle on Puppet Street is about to break out. Armored vehicles activating the strongest firepower will crush every road. Blood flowed in streams, corpses filled the streets, and artillery fire supporting armored vehicles finally penetrated countless puppet troops. But only 2 armored vehicles remained, rushing straight into the building where Ari was staying. Then everyone divided into 2 groups. AP led John and a few soldiers to the rooftop to find Ari's remaining soldiers, continuing to deal with the overwhelming puppets to buy time for AP and the others. But there are 160 million puppets, so they can't be defeated no matter what, their ammo is running out. On the top floor of the building they finally found Ari. John wanted to rush forward to take him down but was too confident and was almost thrown from the 100-meter-high building. AP turned back and put his strength into his fists to fight his former brother. I expected them to have a fight full of lightning and fire, but it turned out to be just a normal duel. Where were the aliens' superpowers? But both are equally strong, no one can defeat the other. At the same time, the army downstairs ran out of bullets, and finally a puppet drove straight into the colonel and the others fell to their deaths. The fierce explosion distracted Ari's attention, and AP took the opportunity to deal a fatal blow. He then pulled out the remote control from Ari's body, then told John to quickly hit him. A bomb was immediately stuffed into Ari's body, he exploded on the spot. After a struggle, Ari was finally resolved. Just when he thought the crisis was over, pressure activated his superpowers, instantly destroying all the puppets. At this time, the rest of the team had reached the top of the building, but when they saw AP's actions, everyone was scared. It became clear to them that previous attempts had all failed to save humanity, except for 6 of them, all humans perished. This makes them question AP. Pressure finally shows his true face, he is not trying to save humanity. For the reason of saving humanity, he persuaded these people to help him find Ari to capture the activation device, then awaken the human race and become the first to open the world, gaining the right to become the only god on the earth, keeping them 3 men and 3 women, just enough people to give birth to enough people to fill the Earth within 100 years. At this time, everyone was shocked to realize that they were just his pawns, and even if they were lucky enough to survive, they would still become slaves. After learning the truth, Von tremblingly picked up the knife on his face and stabbed at AP. Unexpectedly, due to AP's mental intervention, he stabbed the female officer to death. Will was angry and wanted to rush to take revenge but was stopped by John, because he already had a special plan with AP. The female reporter standing next to her grabbed the gun. She didn't care that John had taken care of her many times. One shot successfully suppressed John. Volt angrily attacked again but AP strangled him tightly. When he saw Will, he immediately shot AP. Unexpectedly, AP turned into his father. When Will hesitated, he turned everyone present into his father. The thing that AP is best at is confusing others. At this time, Volt knew that AP was real, so he hugged him and jumped off a 100-meter-high building and died together. Surprisingly, AP could heal his wounds even when hit by bullets. Why did the screenwriter come up with such a brilliant idea, but in the end he fell from a building and died? Why do aliens die so easily? Now there are only 4 people left. John is considered useless. The task of procreation falls to Will. But then they were stunned. They saw a huge spaceship slowly approaching, completely shattering their illusions. Apparently an army of millions of aliens has arrived. Now humanity is doomed. How will the 3 of them defeat millions of aliens? At this time, the activated device has a sensor. Immediately the spacecraft slowly opens the door. But strangely, no aliens appeared, so the 3 people quickly walked to the front of the spaceship and carefully entered. When they arrived inside the spaceship, they were shocked by the scene before them. It turns out that aliens are sleeping in millions of neatly arranged sleeping cocoons. Aliens that have been sleeping for 200,000 years are about to wake up. How can the last 3 people on Earth destroy millions of aliens who are sleeping? Sleep now? And sleeping aliens all have superpowers. If we don't find a way to deal with them as soon as possible, once we let them wake up, the consequences will be extremely unpredictable. Suddenly the clock on the sleeping pod lit up, showing that they didn't have much time left. Seeing that they were about to wake up, he raised his AK and shot. The female doctor standing nearby also immediately opened fire. Even though they can destroy the aliens, if you look closely the spacecraft still has millions of sleeping cocoons. Even if they had time, they wouldn't be able to shoot them all, not to mention the situation is already very difficult. At this moment, the female reporter suddenly looked up and noticed that all the sleeping pods were connected together by many giant oxygen tubes. Each pipeline is connected to a large area. Once the pipeline is destroyed, many people will die. So she raised her axe and cut a tube. Sure enough, without an oxygen source, the aliens in the sleeping cocoon immediately fell into a state of hypoxia, each of them struggling in pain. In a short time, all the aliens in the sleeping cocoon were suffocated, and the lights in the sleeping cocoon also turned off. The 3 people immediately split up and started taking action, destroying the oxygen supply device to quickly destroy all the aliens. The high-tech alien spacecraft's pipeline was easily split in half by a woman wielding an axe. You may think it's ridiculous, even bulletproof glass made with current Earth technology is better than this. In fact, this material transports oxidizing liquids for 200,000 years or more, so aliens can only choose this material. At this moment, Will suddenly discovered that there was something on the ceiling above their heads. The sleeping cocoon was filled with aliens. How could it be good, but when it was urgent, they didn't care so much? How could they remove so much? After running 1 lap, he was surprised to discover that he did not feel any change in gravity. There was no gravity here. So the 3 of them hastily continued to destroy the pipe. After a while of effort, most of the aliens on the ship were suffocated in the cocoon. When the female doctor reached the last cocoon, she discovered that there were no bullets left in the gun. She looked up at the female reporter, intending to borrow her axe. The female reporter said nothing and threw it hard. After a change in gravity, the axe fell smoothly in front of the female doctor. The female doctor picked up the axe and was about to chop it down, but at a critical moment she stopped the axe in her hand. It turns out that the oxygen supplied by the last tube is all alien brood. Will rushed forward to shoot, but the female reporter stopped him in time. Are these all children? Faced with these innocent alien children, the 3 people were moved. When the sleeping cocoon was opened, the alien babies woke up slowly crawling out of the cocoon and standing in front of them. The 3 of them looked at these pitiful little bald heads, and good-natured Will couldn't take it anymore. These are descendants of aliens with superpowers who can live forever. If there is only one naughty child among these 110 children, humanity will die, because all aliens have the power to destroy the Earth. But it's also possible that the 3 of them were controlled by tiny aliens, so they didn't act. When the female doctor was about to deliver the final blow, she suddenly stopped. It seemed like she was mentally controlled by a small alien. then discovered the child was in a sleeping cocoon. The movie also ends here, with an open ending. If you find the video interesting, please leave a comment down below and follow the channel to wait for the next interesting videos.